It's you. Right.
Was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to the live show. It's been a minute, people. We apologize, but we love you, okay? First, yeah, it's been a minute. Today, we're going to be talking about some myths and some facts about growing the brand. Moose brought this topic up, and I was like, oh yeah, we gotta talk about what people see, but what really happened. So that's definitely going to be talked about. Of course, the new episode 103 came out today, so definitely go check out the audio experience. It's a whole vibe. But Moose, how you feeling?
Man, feeling pretty good. It's conference week. I'm excited. There's a good amount of stuff going on, and we just released this new episode, which is kind of interesting. I felt like we're continuing to expand and play around with some new concepts. Mm-hmm. So I saw in some of the comments today when you dropped the teaser, people was like, "Yo, I'm gonna definitely check this out." I was like, "Okay, I like that people are responding nonetheless."
Oh yeah. It's definitely some interesting comments at the same time. I'm like,
yeah,
yikes. I want no smoke with that. Normally I reply to majority of the things. That one I was like, I'm not touching. I don't know what to do. What's up, Eddie, who's joining us live? If you don't know who Eddie is, he is the reason why you even hear the podcast. He is the dope audio engineer about it. So shout out to Eddie. But Moose, let's dive right into this.
Yeah, let's go, man. So it's funny because I was just doing a little bit of studying, and I've been kind of public and continuing to say that my big focus this season is really understanding sales and marketing from a more fundamental standpoint, right? I think for the longest time, you either love sales or you hated sales. There was no in between, right? Because you're accustomed to seeing it through the lens of the U.S. sales Carmen and their way and their tactics of doing it. But of course, as I begin to study it, I'm realizing that there are some ways for us to really grow our brands and grow our business using some pretty strategic, genuine, authentic, and strategies that are filled with integrity, but that can really help you to grow both your brand online, offline, of course, your business, same thing. Now, of course, as you're going through it had me thinking that there's this myth of what sales is, what growing a brand is, what business is, and then there's the fact. There's what it really is, what it actually is. And so I said, you know what? It's probably good for us to really start breaking down for those who might be, getting ready to jump, just recently jumped, or may have jumped a long way, but not looking to explore some territories deeper into, say, the deep end of the water, the deep end of the ocean, because of what they thought it's going to take for them to grow their brand or expand their business. There are some things that are actually, they look a little bit different when you start dealing with the facts. So I took some notes about, some things that we can talk about, but I definitely wanted to start by picking your brain just around, from your experience, of course, and what you've seen from a branding standpoint. What's one of those top things that comes to mind when you think about your work with people, clients, folks from all over? What is a myth that they typically have about what they need to have a successful brand or to grow a successful brand versus what is an actual fact of, that exact thought that they might have?
I think it has everything to do with, let's talk about a social media standpoint, that once you start posting on social media on a consistent basis, everything is supposed to blow up like in a few weeks. right? If you have the greatest content, you're paying top dollar for your content, whether it's you have the top equipment or, you're paying somebody and you become, consistent for a month or two. It's like, yo, this is not working. What is not working? Hello, you were just birth. You just started to walk. Like, what are we talking about? Like when you birth a baby, you think they know everything? They blow up after that? That's what I mean. They're not a whole adult. Like, it's the same kind of stages, right? Now, granted, there are some things that will hit instantly. There are some that will help accelerate the process. But it's like anything. It takes some time to mature. It takes some time to figure out some rhythm. It takes some time to understand your audience and what people really want from you. So you're going to try something and you're going to fall. And you're going to crawl on a few things. And you get back up and you're going to fall again. And you're going to be, shaky and things like that. And then when you finally start walking and dressing yourself and stuff like that, you're trying to learn the language of how to communicate with other people, right? And sometimes that works. Sometimes we don't even know what you're talking about. Shout out to my New Yorkers who try to learn how to curse at like second grade and third grade, and it sounds wild, right? and we're like, yo, it doesn't come natural. It's the same thing as social media. Some things don't necessarily come natural because you're seeing everybody else do it, and you're trying to speak the same language, but it's not natural to you, right? So it's more on understanding that everything takes time, and be appreciative if it accelerates and certain things based off certain blueprints and certain systems that were out there helps you speed up the process. But to come in mind with building a brand thinking all I need is really great quality of content and just to be on social media for a little bit and then boom, it grows, you're delusional. Sorry.
Wow. Yeah. On that note, I wanted you to talk about this idea that everyone has that they can't grow a business without a large following, or that being on social media won't help their business unless they have hundreds and thousands, if not millions of followers. So that's another myth that I think as people really, you listen to folks around what their desire is they want this ginormous amount of followers. They just want all the followers. And I love some of the things that you say about that. Like, you want all these followers to do what with them, right? But even beyond that, just the myth or the idea that without a large following, I can't grow, or being on social media won't necessarily help my business. Talk about that for a second.
I mean, I get it. Perception's everything, right? And to some people, numbers matter, right? But that doesn't necessarily stop business, right? So you can have 500 followers. Some of your favorite execs, right? Some of your favorite CEOs have less than 2,000, 3,000 followers, and they make a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money, right? And it's not always about social media from a business standpoint or from a branding standpoint, right? It's good to have a presence, but you don't need a lot to be taken serious, to sell something, right? You may need a certain amount to get paid from the platforms, but to get paid in general, absolutely not. It's all about really the engagement that you have with your audience. Because if you can nurture them right, you can have 500. There is going to be a conversion in there because you're nurturing the few people that you have. And I always say, okay, you have 500 followers, you have 3,000 followers, you have, 5,000. You're looking at others who are like, yo, I want this, I want that. Put them in your house. Tell me how little those followers are now. Like we take it for granted because we don't see them and we can't touch them. Imagine the amount of followers you have inside of your house right now. Is it crowded? Will you be able to speak to everybody, right? Or will you be cornered on some, okay, I can't even move around in my house, right? Have you figured out a way, if they were in your house, how to communicate and make everybody feel seen? Or at least half. Some of y'all haven't even addressed half of the followers that you have, but yet you continue to want more and haven't done anything with the ones that you have. It's like you're hoarding followers and it doesn't make sense. So until we fully understand our audience and have converted as much as we can from the followers that we have, it's very unrealistic to want more. You're now on a gambling standpoint. Like, if I just keep going, I'm going to finally win something, right? And it doesn't necessarily work that way. You just haven't realized the right language in order to convert them, or in order for them to feel safe, in order to give the rest of the details out for them to be like, yo, I'm loyal, or at least going straight to the point of what you're doing, because maybe you're going in circles of things. There's languages that we're still not understanding with our language, with our platform, but we're sitting here saying, I want more followers. Why don't I have this many followers? What is wrong? I have great this, that, and the third. Great. Absolutely. Does your followers remember what you posted 2 days ago? Okay.
Wow. You know, it's funny because I think, and I believe Isaiah even spoke to it in the chat too. I think one of the words that a lot of you guys got to think about when you think about just wanting a large following for the sake of wanting a large following, aside from the fact that it probably makes your ego feel really good, like, yo, I got 100,000 followers, man, I got a million followers. Like, aside from that feeling, I want you to do some math and think about your capacity as a business owner. All right, literally think about your capacity. If you had all 100,000 of those followers knocking on your door, calling your phone, sending you emails, DMing you so that they can inquire about your product or your service, do you have the capacity to fulfill that type of demand? Do you have the team, the systems, the infrastructure, the operations that can carry out that type of demand? That's the first question I want you to answer. And then the second thing is, I want you to also think about your goal, right? The financial goal or the revenue goal, the annual or monthly revenue goal that you might have for yourself or for your business or for your company. And think about what that number is, right? You can say that number is 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, 1 million, 10 million. And sometimes if you can just reverse engineer from that by simply dividing the price point that you sell at and the number of customers you would need to reach that point, you would realize that you really don't need a lot of followers. You really don't need a lot of followers. You need people who are in need of what you have. You need people who are engaged and trust that you are the right source or resource for them. But you don't just need a lot of people for the sake of having a lot of people. So I feel that that's definitely one of those, that big myth. That's an overarching myth that I'm not going to be successful or I won't really make money on social unless I have a large following. But when you take some of, or a lot of what Nicky just said, and you think about it through the lens of capacity, how much you're able, or how much you have, are you able to fulfill or really take care of all of these people if they were to reach out to you simultaneously, and how much you want to make, you would realize that you don't need all that much. You might be good with 5 monthly clients. If you could just get 5 new leads on a monthly basis, depending on your price point and your ability to fulfill and take care of those leads, that might be all you need. Now, again, this is considering the price point that you're at, but sometimes when you start thinking about it through that lens, you start to realize that, wait a second, I don't need 100 people. Heck, I don't even need 1,000. Maybe just 10 is my number. Maybe 50 is my number. But when you start thinking through that lens, there's a lot more within your reach, than when you're thinking about 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. All right. So that's a lot more doable than some of these other numbers that I think we tend to strive for when we're just getting started, or even when we've been in it for a minute.
That's a fact. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. The next one I have here too, man, is aesthetic. You know, I think a lot of times people feel like, yo, if my profile is aesthetically pleasing, it's beautiful, all my cover pages or all my cover photos look dope, it's all synchronized, and you could look at the profile and maybe even read a message because of how it's built out, everything looks good, then surely that means I will have a successful and growing, converting brand. Talk about some of the. I mean, I believe the CEO of Instagram spoke about this a while back, but just from your point of view as well, what about when it comes to the aesthetic of a profile or just how a brand looks?
I think you could talk about that now, because you're getting more active and you have a combination of both. So I think you could speak more on just experience wise of, you thought it had to look a certain kind of way, and now you're giving more of an organic situation, some a little, edited, but like, what are some of the results that you're seeing?
Yeah, it's been fun for me. I mean, I think and maybe we'll bring this in together, right? Because the next point that I wanted you to talk about as well was the 3 categories of content, right? So we'll bring in the myth of all I got to do is post. Because you got somebody who takes like a machine gun approach. They're just firing away. They're going to post 10 times a day. They have no problem with posting.
Yeah.
But what they're posting is any and everything. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, the other end of the extreme, that is super calculated with everything that they post. And the shade, the saturation, everything is in sync, right? And you end up being on both ends of the extreme. So we'll bring them both in together. But to answer, at least from my perspective, what I used to do was I definitely used to think about that. I remember at one time in COVID, during COVID, I wanted to create a series on IGTV, RIP to IGTV, because they're no longer even active. Which just shows you, man, that sometimes you might hang on to a strategy thinking that this is going to be your gold mine, and then the platform says, swipe, get up out of here. We don't need that no more. It's no longer benefiting our business. And so you got to shift and adjust. But there was a time during COVID where I wanted to create like the quarantine series or something like that. And they were just long form or somewhat long form, I think 3 minutes or so, IGTVs that I was trying to put out there. And I needed the background and this, and I was struggling looking for the right template. And then every time I posted a word, I wanted the rest of the words to be in sequence. Like, it just sounds confusing, even as I'm describing it to you. So you could only tell or imagine how long it took me to try and do something like that. And I'm not naturally a creative person. So I kept stabbing at this aesthetically pleasing profile for so long that eventually I just got so burnt out. And I was like, you know what? It's probably best for me not to post at all.
Right.
I'm going to continue to do the work, but I'm not going to post at all. But what's working for me now is that, honestly, I've really been sitting in the student mode, sitting in the seat of student as a student, and not trying to pretend as though I'd mastered this. There's like a different swag that you move with when you pretend that you mastered something, although the results of that thing that you're after don't look as though you've mastered it. Right? So imagine moving with the confidence and the swag as though you've mastered social media, but the way the results of your social media are coming back, they don't really look like that's a master at the helm there. It doesn't look like that. And so I said, you know what, let me get off of my pride. Let me get off of my ego. Let me be a student. Let me be coachable and listen to the advice and feedback of people who have. And so the thing that I really kind of stuck to was the 3 categories of content, and how those are probably the most engaging ways to connect with people online and bring them into your message. So that's what I've been doing. Now, I always talk about it. I'm not necessarily someone who's funny. I admit that I'm not funny. But by watching and being a student, I realized that you can repurpose content that isn't about the best quality. It doesn't matter, but it has the element that you're looking for. And you can leverage or utilize that element within your content and get your message across or make the connection using the thing that you're after, right? That entertainment category or the funny concept. So that's some of the stuff that I've been doing, man. And just my thing right now is continuing to have no attachment to the likes, but I understand the importance of the data. And there's like a difference there. You know that the numbers matter because the numbers tell you if it's working or not, but I don't have an attachment to getting a like or a comment or a share or a save. Like my day, my mood is not dependent upon that. If they come, great, it worked. How can we do it again? If they don't, it's like, oh, it didn't work. It's not the thought of, oh man, nobody liked it. I suck at life. It's like and I hate to say it, man, but and not obviously not to that extent, but it would have in the past possibly affected my mood or even my own confidence around what I was doing if it wasn't received with the greatest amount of light. Now I'm like, oh no, hold on a second. There's an algorithm there. You can have the best piece of information, the best bar that will fall flat on deaf ears just because the algorithm isn't really feeling that type of content that day. Mm-hmm. You can have something that's average that gets a ridiculous amount of attention just because it happened to work out, so that part you don't know what to do with. So I think overall, I'll sum it up in saying, one, knowing the three categories of content and knowing that it's more about using the right elements to connect with the people and drive your message forward is a lot more important than simply putting together something that is aesthetically pleasing. You like it, but no one really cares about it because it's your subjective opinion.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. For me, until cat videos no longer work, aesthetics are nothing to me. Like there's just it's a preference, right? And then of course it shows to some like a level of growth, right? You're taking a little bit serious if the aesthetics are looking a certain kind of way, and it really just depends on the goal. It just really depends on the goal, right? If you're trying to be relatable, aesthetics is not necessarily the biggest thing. If you are trying to look as if you are a media company, that you're looking for certain deals and so you have to have this certain kind of vibe to you, then it depends on, once again, the goal. So for me, aesthetics don't necessarily matter because I've seen brands and I've seen accounts grow regardless if they have aesthetics or not. But the goal of what you are on social media for, and in the long run, it could possibly matter, right? So in like E's case, ETs will do, the highly produced B-roll type videos, but then we know that sometimes the super organic ones hit kind of the best because it's reachable, it's relatable. And for personal brands, you have to always add that in the mix. You can't just seem too perfect, right? It's not, people don't connect with that. People admire that, but people don't connect with that. And so it just, what are you trying to get out of the aesthetics instead of I just have high standards, and remembering that the brand is always about your audience and not about you. So who cares about your wants of how it's supposed to look? It's just about what the audience needs. So that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, that's good. Talk about the three categories and maybe expand a little bit on them, because I used to think that you had to pick one of the categories and just develop content or create content under that one category all the time. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but now I'm realizing that you can develop all three categories under your own niche or lane and still see progress, growth, and connection from the audience because they see what you're after, right? So maybe expand on that a little bit, just those three categories and how to use them.
Yeah, so I go by brand awareness, nurturing your audience, and monetizing, right? So, and I also, it translates as well as to like the pay system, which is platform audience you. So I'll break that down from a brand awareness, like you want to have content that is reaching new people, right? Especially if we're growing a global brand, we want to make sure that our content does get the eyeballs it deserves. So we're going to have to create content that brings reach. Now, that's understanding the platform, right? So you have to look at what are some of the things that the platform is putting energy towards, and I have to create that type of content to get the proper reach on these platforms. The second one is going to be about nurturing your audience, right? And that's more going into your insights and seeing what did they comment the most on? What did they view the most on? What did they share, save the most on, right? Because this indicates this is what your audience wants from you. So if you give them that, they're possibly going to do more of what they did before, which was either watch it, like it, comment, view it, right? So that's the nurturing your audience side. Now, the third one is monetize, or how I also put it as you, where these are conversions. Monetization doesn't always mean money. It could possibly mean time. It could possibly mean email, like growing your list, subscriptions, things like that, right? What are you doing to be intentional to convert your followers into paying customers, clients, subscribers, I don't know, supporter, like what are you doing to convert them? And so if you have these three in your content mix, you have everything from I'm getting the reach, I'm keeping the people, and I'm making money while doing so, or I'm creating things off social media and creating conversions in that way, and everything as far as your brand is checked.
That's good. I like that you expanded under the monetization one because, like you said, it can mean conversion to get them to your email list, or having direct contact off the platform, right? Away from the platform, so that you're not dependent upon them seeing your content at the time in which you're ready to monetize, which I know is important. I love those. What about the and maybe this you would refer to as the types of content, which I know you said education, entertainment, and either inspiration or motivation. How would you categorize those?
So that goes more towards why do people come on social media, right? People come on social media for normally three reasons, and that's what Moose said: entertainment, education, and inspiration, motivation, the whole nine, right? Now, if you think about it, if you can create all three, if these are the reasons why people come on social media and you create all three, you are now locking them down within your niche. So meaning, I'm not asking you if you don't teach, right, to teach on math. Like you're a clothing brand and now you're teaching on math and you're doing skits and you're trying to be a motivational speaker. That's not what I'm saying, but you're going to want to create content that is going to teach within your niche, right? Be able to relieve some type of stress get their mind and create distraction. That's the entertaining part. And then inspiring or motivating them that they can do whatever they need to do to get rid of their pain points within your niche and your market, right? So it's even though it may not make sense, because you're like, yo, just like how Moose said, yo, I'm not funny. What are we talking about? But entertainment doesn't always mean funny. Entertainment means getting rid of their distractions. Entertainment means I'm trying to relieve anxiety because the world is a very ugly place. And when you come over here, you have nothing to worry about, right? Motivation just doesn't mean get up and grind. No, motivation can also mean, yo, you could do you could do whatever I need you to do within this niche and in this market. Like, you can get to the next level of, let's say, somebody was trying to pass a test, right? Yo, there's some people that have your same background, that parents didn't graduate, that there's no brothers or sisters, and it's just you trying to figure it all the way out. And this test is going to get you the job you need. The test is going to get you to the whole new level. What does it cost you if you don't pass this test, right? It's things like that is like, oh, hold on. I didn't think about it like that, right? And now that's the motivation they need to study a little bit more. So if you can master the education side, the entertainment side, and motivational side of content, you're locking down your audience to being everything they need within your niche.
Yeah, that right there, I gotta say, has been my biggest breakthrough. Just like finally wrapping my mind around the 3 layers to start recognizing that I don't have to just focus on one of the 3. I can do all 3 as long as I'm tying it back to the main idea that I want to speak to, or the main problem that I'm trying to resolve or be known for. So that's definitely something that I would say, y'all really got to tap into that, because that took me from being absolutely silent to, really catching some rhythm. The next thing I want to talk about, Nix, and this is probably a good one, because there's another really important key here, and it's the myth around I don't have time, or social media, branding, online, anything. It takes too much time. I have a family. I have children. I have a wife. I have a 9-to-5. I have multiple businesses. I just don't have time, right? That's a big myth around, and I'm not saying that it's not hard work. I'm not saying that you don't have to dedicate some effort and energy to building your brand online, or growing and seeing progress with your business utilizing the internet or utilizing social media. However, there are some secret hidden keys into how you can make use of, things like, I don't know, I'll say one of them, but definitely repurposing content to be able to not dedicate so much time to create everything yourself. So talk about that a little bit, because that's another really important, helpful piece.
Yeah, it's all about the systems that you have in place, right? Nothing when it comes to your brand necessarily has to be manual, right? So at first, like me personally, there's some things that I love to do manual for data reasons, right? But I don't have to if I don't want to, right? I can schedule all the posts out. I can schedule all the emails out. I can schedule a whole lot of things in order to keep my presence going and go and do other things. For me, I choose not to, because I'm always looking at data. That's just me. However, the regular CEO, the regular 9 to 5. The regular person who's just starting a business may not have the time to create, to post, to look at analytics, to then think of future ideas, to then think of products and services, to then cater to a community, to then cater to contractors, employees. Like, they may not have that, right? So, granted, yes, time is an issue if you make it an issue. Everything, you find time for what you have, what is priority to you. You find time for what's priority to you. If you don't find time, it's not important. You could sit here and say that, oh my God, no, it is. I just don't have the time. It's not important to you. I don't have, and this is just me, I don't have sympathy for people who give me the laundry list of all the things they have to do and I don't have time for it. Just say it's not important. You don't find it important at this moment compared to the other things that you have. And that's fine. Just be honest, right? I'm trying to figure it out with all the things that I have going. Okay, that's fine. You're not convincing me. I promise you that. You're not convincing me, because there's tools. There's schedulers. There's systems. There's third-party software that will connect all the other systems if there wasn't a all-in-one situation. If you're talking about content, there you could repurpose, right? You can outsource. You don't have to do everything to yourself. You could batch create. There's a lot of things that you can do to eliminate the reason of I don't necessarily have time. It's that it's not important to you. And just be honest with yourself and the people who are trying to push your brand as well, if you're at that point. And be honest with your audience too. Hey, I would love to be consistent, but no one does this. I would love to be consistent, but I just don't have time. That's a fact.
We're not sharing the mic, but I had to sit back because that was crazy. Hey, that was a bar. Did y'all catch that? Don't say you don't have time. Just say it's not important to you. That's a bar. That's important. That's a different way of looking at time management. It's not that you don't have time. It's just whatever you're not completing is not important to you. Man, that's a good word. Yeah, I saw a couple of questions in the chat, man. The Chris Tab show.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris dropped a couple of questions, and he said, "Can you talk about starting over versus starting from where you are?"
Hold on, I'm trying to find that because I saw it and I didn't. Oh man, starting over versus what?
Starting over versus starting from where you are.
I'll say this. For majority of us, what we've created, we're just not happy about. It's not that it's not good. It's just that we're not happy about. We don't think it's a success. So I have to scrap every single thing. No, you have to tweak it. Right? Like, I'll be transparent. We're doing I2M right now. And actually, Chris is in I2M, right? I looked at that whole program and I said, this is good. I'm going to tweak it to make it better. There was some gaps. And instead of saying, we're just starting all the way over, it's not even going to be called I2M. It's going to be called, Nicky wants to call this monetization for your behind. That's what I'm going to call it. Monetization for your behind. This is that serious, right? So, boom, now it goes from what it was to a completely new program. Now, the problem is, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it didn't work, right? You have to honestly look at data and to show, okay, is this a complete L? Like, is it just all the way zeros all across the board? People came in, got no results? Or am I bored? right? Do I feel like it's not successful? I feel, not facts, feelings, right? So there is a difference. Now, like I said, if the data shows there's nothing, then start over. If the data is saying is something, then it's about tweaking certain things. And if you tweak it and you see the result, we create the foundation. I always say version 1 always sucks. Anything that we have, version 1 always sucks. The first iPhone sucked. The first computer sucked, right? The first PlayStation sucked. But now, as they continue to tweak it, not create a whole brand new thing, they continue to tweak it, they started to master and get way better results. So do we have the foundation? Do we have a strong foundation and we just have to build on top of it and tweak certain things, right? Or did we not start with a strong foundation? We just started and just right? So that's what I'll say, but I would love to hear what you say.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, honestly, my mentality with it all is as long as the overall is a net positive, you shouldn't ever think about starting over. Right. And what I mean by the overall net positive, all right, let's just even take just a simple example, one that we're all familiar with. You'll notice that not all the time, but there are some times when you post, you'll notice that you probably lose followers rather than gain followers. It's common. It happens. I'm sure it happens to everybody, right? But as long as your consistency is giving you a net positive return, meaning that over the long term, over 2 weeks, over a month, over 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long that be, as long as you're seeing that your overall follower count or whatever it is increasing, it's more than what you started with, you're gaining more than you're losing, that's an indicator that it's working. That's an indicator that you need to keep going. As a matter of fact, I'm starting to see that as a good thing. I'm like, yes, I'm getting rid of people who are probably not for me anyway, right? Who might see my content and not give it the love that it deserves. And the algorithm is taking that as, maybe the people aren't responding to this. So it's like, that to me is a net positive. So I'm using a silly example around follower count, but to your point, Nick, there's a lot of other areas in which you can evaluate or assess what's happening within that particular thing that you're doing. And you'll get the evidence that you need to know that you can continue to make improvements. But oftentimes, heck, 95% of the time, it's usually lacking some level of improvement, a development, and adjustment rather than completely something new, right? So I definitely got to agree with that.
Cool. And I want to answer this second one. Is it possible to monetize repurposed content? This whole YouTube channel is repurposed content. And we're monetized. Majority of the stuff that I have on my Instagram, not majority, but a good amount is repurposed. The majority of the amount of stuff on ET's page is repurposed, right? And you look at repurpose as probably old content, but it's not old to everybody. So what we do with the YouTube channel, we drop the full video, we drop the full episode, and then we drop different clips of that same episode on the same channel. And those make money. The full episode makes money. The clips make money. In next year, the shorts are about to make money, right? What I share on my page based off some of the clips of the repurposed stuff, that makes money. So you repurpose content period can be able to be monetized. There's not one or the other type of content that can be monetized. All of it can be monetized. Yeah,
just to add to that, I was just writing this down. the way I've understood it, or at least have made it practical for me. And again, I'm almost using myself as the guinea pig for a lot of you listening, just because this is not natural for me. Like, this is more of it takes more effort. It takes more thought. I have to really think through this. And even with all of that, it's not great, right? It's good enough. At least I'm now satisfied with it. But the way I come to understand it is, you got to think to yourself, what is something that I'm already doing? I'm already doing it as part of my day-to-day life in preparation for my brand. It's a part of my business activity. It's a part of my work, my daily workflow. I'm already doing it. But the only difference now is I just have to turn the camera on. I can turn the camera on, put it in the corner of the room somewhere, wherever that may be, put it by my desk, just turn the camera on, put a microphone on your t-shirt or whatever it is, and go. And that's a secondary. I think, like, even doing audio is a bonus. Capturing audio is a bonus. It works if you're on calls and you're actually in the element of talking, presenting, problems, whatever it is, right? Whatever that entails that you're doing. It's a bonus to capture audio, because as long as you can document it and it's something that you're already doing, you can now bring that footage back and do maybe a voiceover over it. You can do like some level of recap around what you're doing, and that right there is repurposed content. So it's something that you're already doing that you can strategically implement into your content creation system, if you will, or your brand growth, brand progression, fun, whatever you want to call it. But if you can just think of it that way, what am I already doing that is consistent? And to use a funny term, but it's actually a real life, like, professional development joint, habit stack, turning the camera on now with it, so that I can capture my content that way. That is the single thing. So I think that's one of the easiest ways to do it. Everything else that you do after that is a bonus. You see a funny video that you want to recap, bonus. You see an article or a title or a headline that you think matches with what you're trying to speak about, or you have a reference or a point that you can make connection to, bonus. All of that is a bonus. And that's what I'm seeing. So it's like stuff that you're already doing, right?
Facts.
Love it. Hey, make sure y'all are sharing this, man. You know what I'm saying? This has been some pretty good. I know, especially tied in the middle there, like that 25-minute mark going into this, we probably started sharing some stuff that I'm sure is behind a paywall somewhere, but it's just where the conversation went. So y'all pretty much got it for free. So for those of you who stick through, those rocky roads in the middle, y'all got some good content in here. But definitely make sure you're sharing this content. Drop questions in the comments if you need to. And of course, like this video as always, so that the people in the YouTube world can know that we're doing some pretty cool things here for creative entrepreneurs, people who are trying to grow their brand and their voice online. That is important. For those of you just tapping in, or you just came across this video randomly, we're talking about the myth or the myths. I don't know how to say that word plural. How do you say that word from a plural
Myths?
standpoint?
Myths?
Yeah, what Nicky just said. I'm usually the one who, yeah. It's hard for me to say it plural. I don't know. Maybe it's my New York accent.
I'm the one that messes up everything.
I know, it's strange. I know. Usually I'm the one who's able to provide some guidance, but today I'm
I'd be
struggling
like,
to say that word plural.
purified. Oh, yeah. Yeah, purified. Purified. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're talking about the different things that Nicky said of what you think it takes to grow a brand or grow a business online versus what it actually does. So we covered so far that you need a large following. You don't.
Nope.
Covered that you need to have an aesthetic page. You don't.
Right.
All you can do is post. Not true.
Right.
That you don't have time. Also not true. So if you're wondering, well, what are the answers? Well, go back and watch the video. Go back through these so you get the answers to things that we just covered. But any other elements, Nix, that you think from your experience, maybe even when you started looking back on it, all these years in the game now, that you're like, yo, honestly, before I started, this was one thing that I thought had to be there. And I'm realizing that that wasn't necessarily true.
Oh, that you have to have a product or service to start a brand.
Oh, wow.
And you don't. You really don't. And it's funny, I was talking to, I'm not going to drop the person's name, but I was talking to somebody I was really close to, and he was talking about, well, I don't want to be on social media unless I have something to sell, right? I want to be consistent, and it takes them nowhere. I was like, okay, so there's two things to that. One, you don't believe in gaining trust. You don't believe in gaining credibility. You think that you come and you're like, okay, I have something, buy it, because I dropped, now I'm here now. So I'm here now and I have something, so you're going to buy it. We don't know you, sir. We don't know you, ma'am. We don't know you, right? So there's, you don't have to, because you still have to remember we don't go to social media wanting to buy something. It's the last thing we want to do. I don't go to social media to shop, right? That's one of the last things I'm doing. So I'm going there to be entertained, educated, or motivated. One of the three. If you provide that, and then I like you, and then I see what else you have, absolutely, right? But I have to be provided value first. Two, there's such things as affiliate marketing. You don't have to own the products and services. You can promote other people's until you get yours and still get a percentage of it. And so there's revenue that still comes through. So there's probably a brand that you are using right now, whether it's physical, whether it is digital, that you can promote because you use it. There's something in your house right now that's Amazon-ish. You bought from Amazon, that if you was to set up your affiliate link and you show people how you use it, just on a regular, not being like, I have a heart and let me show you what I do with this heart. I actually make it as a paperweight. I use it as a stress reliever. I throw it on the wall sometimes, see how it could crash, and then I can, no one cares, right? We want to see how you actually use it in order to be like, yo, I need that in my life, right? So no, you don't need a product and service to be taken serious, to have a brand or anything like that. You need to have a presence. You need to have a message. You need to have a solution, but you don't necessarily need a product or a service.
Yeah, necessary. Definitely necessary and timely. Yeah, that's good. That's good. One of the things I thought about as you were kind of expanding on that, I think another myth that definitely comes up is I'll start when I have credibility. It's like, oh no. I'm waiting to build my credibility to start. And the truth is, there's something right now. If you've been on this earth for at least, let's just say, I mean, honestly, the age is getting younger and younger if you're looking at some of these at some of these different platforms. But if you've been on this earth for a couple of years, bare minimum, you already have credibility on something, right? There's a gift, there's a talent that you have that you can showcase, because you see very young people making a living on using social media and all of those things, and then generating businesses to drive that traffic into other alternative methods of revenue, right? Using or showcasing a gift or a talent. But if you're stuck on the credibility piece, you have credibility. There's something in your life that you can at least start with. Now, the second thing is that a lot of people don't realize, the fact is that your work consistently builds credibility. All right. The one thing that I can always speak to, even from my own experience, is that when I'm quiet, people tend to think that because you're quiet, and unfortunately that's just how the world is today, that you must not be doing the work, that you're no longer even involved in what they knew you for before. And you can't blame them. That's just the way of the wave. Now you can sit and say, man, why is that? I wish it could be different. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not going to go back to that. But you can get involved and show your activity. And every single time that you show your activity, you'll notice that people will start reaching out to you with opportunities. It happens every time. I'm sure if you check Nicky's DMs, there's a lot of opportunities in there. She told me not to say nothing, but there was a pretty cool little screenshot she sent me that was like, oh, stop playing. Now that's cool, right? But why? There's activity. Even with me, I'm getting I guess you call it a testimonial from 2019, Nix. And I was like, man, and the only thing I thought to my mind, and it was a phenomenal, like very powerful, tons of money made, a lot of transformation, the whole nine. But I'm like, wow, imagine had I stopped and the transformation happened. But if I would have stopped doing the work, or at least started or stopped showing up and no longer showing up, or at least got engaged again, you would have never lived to see it. Like, you wouldn't have known about it.
Right.
All right. So something about just doing the work. Yeah. Doing the work builds credibility. You don't need credibility to start. You can build it as you work.
See what you did there. All right, people. We do me a favor. If you've already listened to the podcast, episode 103, if you're watching this live, drop a number 3 if you've already listened to it. If you're watching the replay, say you listened to it however you want to, right? Because people are not going to understand why you're dropping 3s. So say you listen to 103 and give us some of your feedback and that whole 9. After show drops tomorrow around 8 p.m. Eastern on Apple Podcasts. The full video drops tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Wednesday Eastern time. Yep, I had to think because now I'm going into Central soon. So I'm like trying to think of things. So make sure you check out both. Moose, this was a very dope conversation. I appreciate you. I mean,
Wise.
and you know what we're gonna say?
Peace, y'all.